Good evening, everyone, and happy September. As you can see, we are ready to get back to work from our August recess. With that, I now call our September 3rd, 2025 Mayor and City Council work session to order at 6 p.m. Please note the mayor has indicated that he will be attending today's meeting shortly. Moving to agenda item number 2, we have a bid recommendation from the Laurel Police Department for a Taser contract renewal with the recommendation to update those models. This evening, we have Chief Russell Hamill to provide more context. Chief Hamill, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Council President Clark and Mayor Sidnor and other members of the council as well. Thank you for this time. So the Laurel Police Department has been utilizing different variations of the Taser created by Axon Enterprises Incorporated for over 15 years. The most recent LPD contract for the Taser 7 model expired in August 2025, just a couple of days ago. And so we're going to transition to their most updated model, the Taser 10, with your approval. This latest version of Axon's less lethal weapon platform is an operational upgrade from our current Taser, as it holds 10 laser Taser darts and can be deployed separately, greatly reducing the likelihood of our officers having to use other types of force. The Taser darts can be accurately deployed at nearly twice the distance as previous Taser models, which will allow our officers to deploy the Taser 10 from a much safer distance and position than in the recent past. This provides officers with more time and space to de-escalate situations, which is part of every bit of our training, before possibly resorting to higher levels of force, including lethal force. Additionally, Taser 7 and other previous models operate at a 50,000 volt capacity, while the Taser 10 uses only 1,000 volts to achieve similar neuromuscular incapacitation. This reduction in voltage allows for smaller wire and cartridges, which allows for enhanced accuracy and performance. With this new contract, we'll also be receiving 4 virtual reality trainers for the Taser 10. These trainers will be utilized by our training staff to conduct scenario-based training with the Taser 10. The VR trainers come with built-in scenarios and will significantly reduce the amount of live fire training that officers will need to conduct with their Tasers. The scenarios are recorded so that when an officer completes the training, a trainer can review each scenario with the officer in order to critique and improve their future performance. And we find this to be the next level type of training for police officers. They can actually see what their performance was. Since our current contract expired at the end of August, we're asking this approval for as soon as practical. The Laurel Police Department respectfully recommends approval to purchase the Taser 10 and VR trainers, as noted earlier, for the members of our department. This will be a 5-year contract that will expire in 2029. The purchase would be for 78 Taser 10 weapons, as well as for the 4 VR trainers. The total cost of this agreement will be $469,638, broken down in yearly payments of $93,927.60. I would also note that we have chosen the bundled option from Axon. So it includes a conducted energy weapon, commonly referred to as a Taser, and all associated costs, including software, replacements if something happens, and it's priced to save us $167,096.20 over the life of this contract. Funding for this project is available via the LPD approved budget by transferring additional funds approved for other purchases due to the needs and its urgency noted. So I recommend that, respectfully recommend that we get approval for the contract with Axon, who is located in Scottsdale, Arizona. And myself and Mark's on the line as well, available for any questions you may have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chief Hamill. Are there any questions or comments from the council regarding this bid recommendation? Councilmember Simmons, please proceed.
Yes, thank you, President. And I just wanted to add, thank you, Chief Hamill, for your follow-up replies. And one of the things I know that I think is important that you just described, it's sort of a soup to nuts contract in the sense of it's everything in there, from the training to the actual Taser, to the repairs, to the replacements, to the supplies. So this is sort of like a complete sort of soup to nuts package that we're talking about. So I just want to make sure folks are aware of that. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilmember Simmons. Do we have any additional comments or questions from the council? As Councilmember Simmons indicated, we did have an opportunity to ask questions from the Laurel Police Department, as well as Chief Hamill and Deputy Plazinski as well. I don't see any additional questions. Is there any hesitation on us placing this on our agenda for the September 8th virtual regular meeting? I don't see any hesitation. So hearing no additional questions, comments, or objections from the council, this bid recommendation will be placed on the agenda for the possible action during our virtual regular mayor and city council meeting on September 8th at 6 p.m. Thank you, Chief Hamill. Moving to agenda item number 3, we have another bid recommendation from the Laurel Police Department requesting approval for the purchase of a new handgun for their department. To provide additional context, we have again Chief Russell Hamill to speak on this. I think he logged off a bit, but he should be coming back.
There we go.
Okay, perfect. You now have the floor,
I apologize.
Chief. No problem.
So thank you once again. We're respectfully requesting approval for purchase of a new handgun for use by our officers as a standard issue sidearm for the department. So a number of months ago, we directed our department firearms subject matter experts to conduct a review of the usefulness and effectiveness of our current department issued handgun, as well as conduct a study for a possible replacement handgun, depending on the outcome of that first step. These studies have led us to the conclusion, and me as the chief of the department, that we should change to a different weapons platform as our standard issue weapon. We also believe that prudence and safety require that this change be made in a timely manner, as soon as reasonably practicable, which leads us to this current request. The study as to which new weapon platform should be adopted led to a final recommendation to consider a number of handguns, with a Walther PDP professional full-size 9mm pistol, 4.5 inch with dynamic trigger, magwell, 3 magazines, and the Acrop 2 direct mounted optics, factory installed, being the preferred choice by a consensus of our subject matter experts. The preferred handguns, as outfitted, as I just mentioned, retail for $1,749 per weapon, but the manufacturer recommended dealer has agreed to sell each of these weapons to our department for a total of $933.90 a piece, as I mentioned, fully outfitted. We were directed to Eagle Point Gun of Thoroughfare, New Jersey, as a sales point for the selected weapon by the manufacturer, Walther representative. As noted above, the cost of each weapon outfitted is $933.90 per handgun, and we're respectfully requesting approval for a total cost of $84,051. It should be noted that another vendor LPD was directed to could not supply the requested handguns in a timely fashion, leading to the recommendation of this vendor for this purchase. And with the discount, I believe it's a proper recommendation. Funding for this project is available via the Laurel Police Department approved budget by transferring funds approved for other purchases at this time due to the needs of switching our current platform and the urgency I noted herein. I'm available for any questions, as is the deputy, and thank you once again for your time.
Thank you, Chief Hamill. Are there any questions or comments from the council regarding this bid recommendation for the purchase of new handguns? I don't see any questions or comments. All right. Is there any hesitation on placing this on our agenda for September 8th? I don't see any hesitation. So hearing no additional questions, comments, or objections from the council, this bid recommendation will be placed on the agenda for possible action during our virtual regular mayor and city council meeting on September 8th at 6 p.m. Thank you, Chief Hamill. We appreciate your time in providing context.
Thank you all. Thank you, Madam President.
Absolutely. Moving to agenda item number 4, we have a bid recommendation from the Laurel Department of Public Works requesting the approval to award the contract to repair and update Snowden Place, Ward Street, and Northview Court through Improvement Project LA 26-001. Director Tim Miller, thank you for joining us. You now have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mayor Sidnor, Council President Clark, and Laurel City Council members. The Department of Public Works is requesting approval for the award of contract for Snowden Place, Ward Street, and Northview Court Improvement Project LA 26001. This project includes the construction and repair of concrete sidewalks, ADA ramps, concrete curbing, roadway markings, sign relocation, and asphalt resurfacing of these streets in their entirety. The bid results of the Department of Public Works has solicited several projects this way in the past. Public bids for this project resulting in the receipt of 7 submissions. A formal bid opening was conducted on August 16th, 2025 at the Laurel Municipal Center. The submitted bids ranked from lowest to highest are as follows. VMP Construction Incorporated, 202,397. Calvert Ready Mix and Concrete Supplies, LLC, $227,355. ENR Services, Inc., $243,116. SFMS, LLC, $244,001.38. Espina Paving, Incorporated, $276,733.61. Vino Construction Group, LLC, $484,084.51. And MRB Enterprises, Inc., $595,034.66. The apparent low bidder is a certified minority business enterprise which has done work previously within the city. Funding for this project is available through the adopted fiscal year 2026 capital improvement project, Snowden Place, Ward Street, and Northview Court improvement projects. It's recommended by the Department of Public Works that this contract for this project be awarded to VMP Construction, Inc. of Lanham, Maryland, a certified minority business enterprise, for their bid of $202,397 with a 10% contingency of $20,239 for a total of $222,636. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Director Miller.
Thank
Are there
you.
any questions or comments from the council regarding this bid recommendation? I don't see any questions or comments from the council. And does anyone have any hesitation on placing this on our agenda for September 8th? I don't see any responses. So hearing no additional questions, comments, or objections from the council, this bid recommendation will be placed on the agenda for possible action during our virtual regular mayor and council meeting on September 8th at 6 p.m. Thank you, Director Miller. And we have you for one more for agenda item number 5, which is a contract recommendation for the next 5 years, 2025 to 2030, to select open-ended architectural and engineering services. Again, we have Director Tim Miller to provide more details on this bid recommendation. You now have the floor.
Thank you very much, Council President Clark. The city's current open-end A&E consultant contracts have expired as of July 1st, 2025, and an A&E selection committee has concluded with an American Public Works Association Red Book, 5th edition qualification-based selection for new and renewal of A&E consultants to represent the city. QBS, in compliance with the Brooks Act Law 92-582, means that the qualifications of architect, engineer, consultants are the primary determining factors in consultant selection. This has been a 2-part selection. Part 1 included a request for interested A&E firms to submit an expression of interest proposal that identified key staff that would work on a city contract along with their qualifications and summaries of their past work. Each member of the committee reviewed their expression of interest proposals from the competing firms with resultant ratings identifying a short list of 5 candidate firms from the 14 submissions. Part 2 of this process included each of the 5 firms on the shortlist providing a formal presentation to the A&E Selection Committee, followed by a question and answers session resulting in the selection of the top 3 A&E firms. A&E Selection Committee comprised of the following: William Bailey, Director of Public Works; Thomas Helm, Assistant Director, Department of Public Works; Armin Safka, City Engineer, Department of Public Works. Evaluation results. The shortlist from Part 1 is as follows: KCI Technologies of Fulton, Maryland; Century Engineering of Hunt Valley, Maryland; Daniel Consultants of Columbia, Maryland; Burtis and Associates of Columbia, Maryland; and A. Morton Thomas and Associates of Rockville. Part 2, the selected firms were KCI Technologies, Century Engineering, and Burtis and Associates. Funding for all the A&E consultants would be associated with tasks assigned to each A&E consultant and will come from the designated design engineering portion of funds previously approved by the mayor and city council, or from specific project funding that will be considered and approved by the mayor and city council prior to authorization. It's recommended that the mayor and city council of Laurel award open-end contracts to the top 3 A&E firms as selected in Part 2 above. These contracts will be for a 4-year period with the possibility of a 1-year extension unless canceled by either party. So I'd be happy to answer any questions on this long process that took probably close to 60 days. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your work on this. We appreciate it, Director Miller. Does the council have any questions or comments for Director Miller regarding this contract recommendation? Councilmember Adrian Simmons, please proceed.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. And Director Mueller, as for DPW head, would you say that you're also confident in the selectees that are presented here, just from your experience too?
I am. 2 of the firms that are on this list, KCI Technologies and Century Engineering, were firms that were also on our 2020 list of consulting engineering firms. Burtis and Associates is a new firm to that list of the final 3.
Okay,
So yeah,
thank you.
I would. I sat in. I didn't want to influence anyone or anything like that. So but I did. I have to work with them for the next 2 years. So I sat in on all the
Good.
interviews and went from
Okay.
there.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, great. I appreciate that. It helps that
Sure.
they have your confidence.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions or comments from the council? I do have 2 questions. Councilmember James Cole, please proceed.
Sorry, Madam President, I unmuted before I raised my hand. Director Miller, just to make sure, there is no cost associated with this. Same as past years, we do cost awards based on the project. This is just open-ended and they're kind of there for us to use without having to go out to bid.
Correct. There's no retainage, nothing like that for these firms. So yes, as we come up with a project to award, say a street project, and it has $200,000 in it, just as an example, $35,000 may be allocated to the engineering and the remaining 165 to the actual construction work. That's how we generally do it, yes. Unless we have done several street studies and things of that nature, like the study that was done for Main Street, and that was, initially without a project. But now that's gone full blown and we have what we have today. Yes.
Thank you for confirming, Director.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilmember Cole. I also had two additional questions. Mine was very similar to Councilmember Cole's. Just trying to understand with the open-ended contract, are there any financial costs and agreements? Will they be consistent or do they fluctuate? But it sounds like from what you just shared with Councilmember Cole that there is no cost for that.
Correct.
They're pretty much just consultants for us if we call on them and just bidding on them now ahead of time.
That is correct, Councilwoman. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, no cost associated with that selection at all.
perfect. Thank you so much. And my second question was, if you can just please confirm or explain what we as a city use the architectural and engineering services for, just so people can understand.
So we use them generally for all our street projects. Department of Public Works does. If we have projects that we've had in the past where water filters and things like that would clean up storm drain projects. We are using one now for the dam, Van Duzen Road Dam improvements and things of that nature. And they do a lot of the engineering for us, prepare plans, prepare bid documents. So that's generally what we use them for, is a lot of road work, transportation studies, things of that nature. Now, Department of Public Works uses them for that. And then other Parks and Recs may use them because they handle the facilities and buildings and things. Like if they needed a study done on whether or not they would replace the HVAC units in some of the buildings, they may call upon those same consultants. If they do other improvements to the buildings, same thing. If it needs a new stairwell, if it needs a new elevator, things of that nature is what I believe, Bill Bailey will use them as head of facilities. They can also, because they have other capabilities, a lot of them have planners, landscape architects. So ECD could call upon them if they needed any advice as to plans or development plans, things of that nature. And as well as FMPS, should they need, I'm just going to say, you have a building that burns down and you need a structural engineer, within 12 hours to evaluate whether or not that building should be torn down or whether it should be left standing. We want to make sure that it doesn't possess a hazard to the public, so they can call upon these engineers to respond immediately for occasions, just something like that. Yes.
Great. Thank you so much. It sounds like we are ahead of the game, and that's a great thing to have. So thank you for your work on this.
It is. It's glad to be done with.
All right. So are there any additional questions or comments from the council regarding this bid recommendation? If not, I don't see or hear any additional questions, comments. Does anyone have any objection to placing this on our agenda for September 8th? I don't see any. All right, so hearing no questions, no comments, and no objections from the council, this contract recommendation will be placed on our agenda for possible action during our virtual regular mayor and council meeting on September 8th at 6 p.m. Thank you so much for your time,
Thank you,
Director Miller.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, moving to agenda item number 6, we have an ordinance 2043, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of Laurel, Maryland, sponsored by the president at the request of the administration to amend the Unified Land Development Code, Chapter 20, Land Development and Subdivision Regulations, Section 20-22.50, Interim Limited Retail Uses, and providing an effective date. To provide us with additional context, we have Deputy Director Monteburo of Economic and Community Development, and Legal Counsel, Mr. Larry Tubb. You both now have the floor. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, and good evening, Madam President, Mayor, and members of the council. Before you is text amendment number 267, ordinance number 2043, as required by the City of Laurel Code, providing legislation to amend the city's Unified Land Development Code. This proposed ordinance will provide an amendment to the following sections of the Laurel Unified Land Development Code, Chapter 20, Land Development and Subdivision Regulation, Article 1, Zoning, Division 10, Special Exception, Section 2022 22.50 interim limited retail uses. Section 2022.50 of the code addresses interim limited retail uses in areas of planned development area existing zones, which are designated primarily for industrial research and technology park uses. Where specifically, Section G states no special exception may be granted pursuant to this section unless an application for such special exception is made on or before August 1st, 1993. It will be removed from the code. This change will allow various businesses to obtain special exception approval if needed to operate in the above mentioned zone. If there are any questions regarding the amendment, I'll be happy to answer them. And thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Deputy Director Burrow. Mr. Larry Tubb, would you also like to say anything as well?
Good evening, President Clark, members of the council. Nice to see you all again. Mr. Burrow described it very clearly. Frankly, we don't know why that particular section was put into the really subsection of section 20-22.50 was in. But as you can see, this was adopted over 30 years ago, and no one can determine at this point why that was in there. There does not appear to be any particular good reason why that should remain there. You will see that there is a special exception application that will be coming in under this particular section. But frankly, we just don't see any reason why that should be an impediment to allowing a special exception application to go forward. The special exception use, as you all know, has many findings. There are hearings involved, so it does not do anything to inhibit the process itself. It simply allows a party to come in and make application for a special exception in that zone. And that's all I have, Madam President. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tubb. Do we have any questions or comments from the council? I see Councilmember Adrian Simmons has a question or comment, and then we have Councilmember Jeffrey Mills.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, and thank you both for your presentation. It's very helpful. Maybe three or so questions. First one, as I know, we sort of have a text amendment moratorium, if I understood correctly. How is that impacted by this, or not impacted for that matter?
Go ahead, Mr. Burrow.
No, no problem. It doesn't affect it, Councilman Simmons. It was just, as Mr. Tubbs has said, it was just a overlook over 30 years ago, so it wouldn't affect the moratorium, none. We would move forward for any special exceptions.
Gotcha. And then second question, I think this is intended to apply only to the sort of zone, the IRTP, right? It's just that particular section. Okay. And then third one is, do the other provisions of the section still apply for the interim limited retail use? Which is to say, I think some of the other sections, as I was reading them, are intended for only temporary, maybe for a couple of years, as opposed to sort of permanent retail space. Is that still the case?
Yes, it will be, Councilman. All the stipulations up until you get to G, which we will be omitting, will still fall in place.
Be in effect. And maybe, sir, last question, and Deputy Director Bohr might be able to speak to this in terms of alignment with our current master plan. I know not yet completed, lots of conversations. Would you say that this is sort of in keeping with some of the conversations and expectations, like we're not going to make this change, but then later sort of the master plan sort of wanted to do something different? Is this harmonious, perhaps, is with some of those conversations?
No, I think it would go and fall in line with the master plan. It's retail use. It actually opens it up and line up with the master plan. So it will be consistent with what we have today.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I appreciate your answers. Back to you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilmember Simmons. Next we have Councilmember Jeffrey Mills.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, everybody. I was just wanted to know, like, how does this affect, like, the Main Street businesses compared to like the town center businesses?
I don't think it, Councilman Mills, thank you for the question. I don't think it would affect it. This is an industrial research technology. Main Street, and Town Center are totally two different zones. They specify in our industrial what types of businesses can be in the research area. So those type of zones are two different, but it wouldn't affect anything. It'd be consistent with an industrial area is zoned for.
Yeah, and we really don't have much industrial area, correct?
Correct. We have probably two. I'm just thinking on top of our head across the train track, and also down adjacent to where this location Habitat Restore will be, adjacent to the Parks and Rec facility.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Simmons. Do we have any additional questions or comments from the council regarding this ordinance? Oh, Councilmember Simmons, I see your hand is up. Please proceed.
Yes, sorry, and just to mention, if folks are wondering sort of where this is, as Deputy Director Burrow referred to, and I think it is helpful, sort of down where maybe LabCorp and sort of that sort of medical center is sort of what is currently zoned as sort of that IRTP zone. And so that's really that, and maybe that one other area, Deputy Director, are the only ones that are actually impacted by this. So it's not every place on the rest of the map, but yeah, like it's important to know that bit of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Simmons. All right, with no additional questions, do we have any hesitation on adding this to our September 8th agenda for Monday? I don't see any. All right, so hearing no additional questions or comments or objections from the council, ordinance number 2043 will be placed on the September 8th virtual regular mayor and council meeting for a first public hearing. Thank you. I believe we have you for one more for agenda item number 7, which is an ordinance number 2044, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of Laurel, Maryland, sponsored by the president at the request of the administration, to amend the Unified Land Development Code, Chapter 20, Land Development and Subdivision Regulations, Article 1, Zoning, Division 2, Administration and Enforcement, to add Section 20-3.7, validation of a permit or license issued in error. To provide us with additional context, we have again Deputy Director Monteburo of Economic and Community Development and Legal Counsel, Mr. Larry Taub. You now have the floor.
Yes. Oh, I will give that over to Mr. Tubbs. I'm sorry.
Sure. Thank you, Director Burrow. Appreciate that. Again, good evening, President Clark, members of the council, Mr. Mayor. Nice to see you all again. This issue has arisen where you have a situation where a permit has been issued erroneously. And this can happen. It happens, frequently within Prince George's County. And this particular process has actually been in the Prince George's County Code for many years. It simply really acknowledges the fact that there are situations where a permit can be and sometimes is erroneously issued, and that if the permittee who obtains that permit has basically spent funds in good faith on the basis of the issuance of that permit, that permittee should not be unnecessarily damaged by simply yanking the permit and saying they cannot move forward. So this process, as I said, has been in place for many years now in Prince George's County, and I've worked with that through the county for many years, and I think it's a good solution to an issue such as that. There are certain findings that will need to be made by the, in this case, by the Planning Commission and the City Council, and that would be that the Planning Commission must determine that there was no fraud or misrepresentation practiced in obtaining the permit or license, that at the time of the issuance of the permit or license, no appeal or controversy regarding the issuance was pending before any body, and the applicant acted in good faith, expending funds and or incurring obligations in reliance on the issuance of the permit or license, and that the validation will not be against the public interest. So it has certain specific findings that have to be made. It is a process that the permittee will need to go through. And at the end of the day, if assuming the validation is granted, that property becomes a non-conforming use, which means that it is not simply, it does not in any way become a use permitted by right. But if there are any changes that are going to be proposed to be made to the property, they will require a special exception to make any such changes. And a non-conforming use will run with the land, but it cannot be conveyed to, it can be conveyed to other parties who would be operating the same exact use, but it does not allow any other use other than those that would be permitted upon that, whatever the property might be. So I think it's something that would be frankly beneficial to the city. If a situation like this arises, it provides for a very equitable solution to this problem, yet without opening up a Pandora's box of zoning issues beyond this particular issue. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Taub. I see we have a question or a comment from Councilmember James Cole. Please feel free to proceed.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Taub, I have a question on this, specifically on the process. I'm fine with where it goes to the Planning Commission, but I'm questioning, why does it go before the City Council? Why doesn't it go to the Board of Appeals?
Well, to be honest with you, this was modeled after the county ordinance, and in the county ordinance, it does go to the county council. But to be honest with you, I don't see any reason why it could not go to the Board of Appeals. And given the statutory scheme in the city of Laurel, I think that'd be perfectly appropriate. And so if there's a desire to amend the legislation to have the Board of Appeals be the ultimate deciding authority, I don't think they would pose any problem.
Thank you, Mr. Taub. I don't know that I can speak for my other colleagues, but having served on the Planning Commission as several other council members have, typically when there's a special exception, something like that happens with Planning Commission, it does go to Board of Appeals. That doesn't all go before council, so I'd be comfortable proposing that change. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cole. Mayor Sidnor, I see that you have a question or comment. Please feel free to proceed.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Mr. Tell said. It was issue of error. So, I mean, I understand the Board of Appeals is something that the applicant is challenging, but it's something that we did on our era. I think we should use the least restrictive method as possible. And I think the Planning Commission and the City Council, that's my thing, because we can do both. Either go to the Board of Appeals or it could be approved by the council. So I look at the Board of Appeals as the applicant appealing something that they trying to get done in the city. So I think we should show some leniency towards this and some grace, and let's use the least restrictive method we have as our power, according to our attorney. That's an option as well. I just wanted to put that for the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Sidnor. Councilmember Adrian Simmons, I see you have a question or comment. Feel free to proceed.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Yeah, I had a similar thought as Councilmember Cole in terms of it seemed like a decision was made for the City Council versus the Board of Appeals to be that next step. It's helpful to hear other people's thoughts, the mayor's thoughts as well. I'm certainly open to considering, the Board of Appeals. I don't know that I'm firmly decided it should be one or the other, but it does seem to be in the normal course of if a applicant wants to go for a special exception, that's something that the Board of Appeals often handles. So just a comment on that front. Two or three other things just wanted to check on. Is it the case that sort of paragraphs, I guess, that are 7 and 8, is that just a typographical edit that those are intended to be together, or it almost breaks the sentence? And I don't know if that was the intention.
It does appear that should be together. We can certainly look at that.
Yeah, not like it's something we have to solve right now,
but
but it seemed like perhaps that was intended to be together. It might have accidentally been broken apart.
right.
Second thing, it definitely makes sense to me too to sort of say, hey, if there is an accident or a mistake, honest mistake on behalf of the city, to have a process that we can sort of resolve that, validate that. So this seems, conceptually sort of a good thing to put in. On the process itself, what would you describe sort of the degree of work required of the applicant to go through the validation process compared to the degree of work for the applicant to have gone through the normal permitting process at the front end? Is it a comparable level of effort on their part? Is it, twice as much effort that the applicant needs to go through in the validation, then through an initial application? Or what comparison might you make of that for us?
Sure. Councilman, there certainly is, it's a process. And as with any land use process.
Thank you.
Excuse me, one would have to file an application, and that will be a form application, provide a copy of the zoning map and a site plan, all of which they should have. Frankly, it shouldn't be that difficult to file the application. There is, of course, there will be a series of hearings. There's a hearing before the Planning Commission, and then there will be a separate hearing before either the Board of Appeals or the City Council. But in terms of filing the application itself, it's really not asking much more in the way of information, except that the applicant must show that it can make it must provide facts to show that it would meet the findings that are provided, that the city must find. So they have to go forward and show that they have, for example, expended funds in reliance on the issuance of the permit. That's something they would not otherwise have to do, but I think that's the essence of this whole process. And that the burden of that would be on the applicant to show. So there's going to be some additional effort, but I don't think it's an undue effort.
Okay. I think it was helpful. And one last bit. I thought I had two was whether there might be two tracks for, because I imagine sometimes some permits may be issued and it's a very simple fix, and sometimes it might be a more extensive fix. For a more simple fix, maybe a use and occupancy is issued. You're supposed to have, I don't know, X number of fire extinguishers. Hey, we accidentally issued you a use and occupancy when we shouldn't have, because you only had 3 and you needed to have 4. And the applicant can simply say, well, okay, hey, I'll put up the 4th fire extinguisher. All is well and good. That permit is now active, versus a different scenario. Hey, somebody got a use and occupancy permit in a place that was zoned entirely different and they're in a wrong zone. It seems to me maybe a sort of a simplified method can be made for simple validations, and then the more comprehensive for the more involved. Or what are your thoughts or things that may have been discussed in putting this together?
Councilman, I don't believe that there would be anything that would prevent as you point out, a relatively simple fix in an issue somebody overlooked. For example, maybe that an additional fire extinguisher needs to be provided. I think as long as one could do that and correct the error at that point, I don't think there's any need to go forward with the validation process. I think the issue you pointed out, that is that if a use is permitted in a zone where it is not permitted, that's obviously something that would require the validation process. There's no fix to that other than either the business going away or the use going away, or going forward with the validation process itself.
Yeah, in your mind, when it makes sense to include a clause that's said something to the effect of, in the event there's sort of a minor adjustment that by mutual agreement between the city and the applicant, they can easily resolve, their permit will be deemed valid after satisfaction of the mutually agreed items. If not, then this sort of provision kicks in to say we go through this route.
Councilman, to be honest, I'm not sure that really would be necessary here. I think that's the type of thing that the city staff can make a determination on that. And really, it's only in a situation where there's no other way to fix the problem that this would kick in. So I think I really don't think that that's something that's required. I think that the city staff often does. I'm certainly aware that they often do work with permittees coming in, and if there are issues that can be fixed, the city staff that I have seen always works with them. And I think that's something that would continue. It's only when you reach a situation where there is no other fix that this would kick in and give the permittee an ability to validate that permit.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think, it is the case that the, team exercises good discretion and doing everything we can as a city to work with somebody. Personally, just as a matter of practice, I think it's always good to have that guidance sort of in the code itself to sort of allow for that as a standard. So I would certainly sort of advocate for that, but I do agree in principle with what you said. Thank you, Madam President. That's all my questions.
Thank you, Councilmember Simmons. Do we have any additional questions or comments from the council? I see Councilmember James Cole. Please proceed.
Thank you, Council President. Reading back through the ordinance that we just discussed on ordinance number 2043, where we're allowing a special exception in a zone where it's not permitted, it goes back to the Board of Appeals in that ordinance. For 2044, this is saying we've issued a permit for something that's not allowed to be in that zoned area. I don't understand why we would put it back to the City Council and not to the Board of Appeals to be consistent with the rest of our code. I would like to formally suggest that we amend ordinance number 2044 to go back to the Board of Appeals and not the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cole, for your recommendation. Mayor Sidnor, did you have anything? Okay, I didn't think so. Okay. In addition to that, I don't see any additional questions or comments from the council. I'm looking on the screen. I did agree with Mayor Sidnor in regards to ensuring that the blocks are removed if there are any. However, I do want to understand more from you, Mr. Taub, and that doesn't have to be today. It can be a follow-up. If the proper procedure or the best practice would be for the council to be involved in this process, or if you would advise that it goes to the Board of Appeals. I appreciate the consistency to have that, but also want to ensure, as Mayor Sidnor said, that we don't, we remove all blocks that may be there. So I'm not sure if that's something that you'd like to look into and get back to us about, but that's something that I would be interested in knowing more about, if possible, your recommendation on that.
I'd be happy to do so.
Thank you. All right, are there any additional questions or comments from the council? Councilmember Jeffrey Mills, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, I was just wanting to know if that recommendation was going to be just given to yourself, Madam President, and the mayor, or are we going to have that information? Or if Mr. Taub could give us the information, give us his opinion, professional opinion right now.
If you'd like, I'd certainly give you my feeling is this, that as I said, when the ordinance was drafted, it was modeled after that of Prince George's County, and that in that case it does go to the county council. But you have to recall that in Prince George's County, special exceptions are decided by the zoning hearing examiner with an ability to be heard as well by the county council. It's a different statutory scheme. In the city of Laurel, you have, as many municipalities have, the Board of Appeals, which is the final determiner, if you will, most of special exceptions, for example. And so in the city of Laurel, the Board of Appeals really is, in most cases, the final body that makes the determination of most zoning issues. The only zoning issue that usually comes to the city council is that of a rezoning, because that's a policy issue. But in a situation such as this, where there only need to be certain findings made, and a determination that those findings have been satisfied, frankly, I think the Board of Appeals would be adequate to make that determination and let that be the final determining body.
Thank you, Mr. Tubb. Mayor Sidnor, please proceed.
Yeah, this is just a question for Director Burrows. Main Street, right? You got two zones there, right? You got the commercial village and you got the CC. Is that fair to say? I'm trying to learn all the zones myself.
Yeah, commercial, general and commercial village. Yes.
Okay, and that's the whole certain section of Main Street has commercial village, commercial
Yes.
general, and most have.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's like all tied together. It's not too much separation from. It's like not even probably half a block or something from.
Correct. In some instances, yes.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying, trying to, because it's not like it's far off. You might go 200 feet, 300 feet, you be in another zone, and you go the other way, so it's kind of like all connected. But I try to say certain things, that's what it is. But I was trying to, since we made it arrow, I was trying not to make it so difficult because the streets are so close to the business is so close together. You wouldn't know the difference technically, unless you doing what we're doing right now. But thank you. Just want to put that on record as well.
Thank you, Mayor Sidnor. So it sounds like from the conversation that there's a recommendation on the table to change it from coming to our table as a city council, but bypassing us and going to the Board of Appeals. It sounds like, Mr. Taub, you're saying that you don't see any reason why that would be an issue, since they are the last stop, pretty much, for the decision making. Before I say further, I see Councilmember Jeffrey Mills has his hand up. Feel free to make your comment or question. Or is that?
Yes, Madam,
Oh, okay.
Madam President. So, Madam President, I was just would like to request that the mayor make a decision and that we can go off of. I mean, the Mr. Taub is his advisor, and which we have two conflicting. We can go either way. So, Mayor, I'm just asking if you because for the council, I think that the Board of Appeal it makes sense to go towards the Board of Appeal, which would have more knowledge than the council. And so what do you suggest?
I can't make that decision, sir. That's up to the council. I was just making a recommendation based on how close the zones are, and we made it an error. And in one initial conversation, I thought Mr. Tubb told us that we can make that decision as a council. But Councilman Cole saying I don't know the code. I didn't read the whole code right well. But if that's the case, then you guys make that decision. I think either way we're going to be fine. But I was just trying to make it less difficult for the applicant since this error that we made and the zones are so close. That's what my thought process was in this matter.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor Sidnor or either Deputy Director Burrow or Mr. Taub. When you say that the streets are so close and to not make it difficult, would it make it a little bit more difficult, or how would it make it more difficult if we have it go to the Board of Appeals? I just want to make sure that I fully understand, if possible.
I was just talking about paperwork and a minute and time. That's all, because I think the mini mark cash checks as well, and that's in the, so.
Would that change anything for them, Mayor Sidnor?
I don't know. I'm just looking at the least restrictive method with the initial conversation we had earlier. So I mean, things always change. The more we get more information, more we read things. But I was trying to, not make it. When I say difficult, it might be such a strong word, but lessen the process much as for the applicant, because the applicant can basically sue us or something, and so I was trying to minimize things as much as possible. But if the code states what it states, then I'm not going to go against the code. But I thought initial conversation we could do that, but maybe I misinterpret something. But
well, it sounds like if possible. I do hear what Councilmember Cole is recommending, and I do see what he's saying. Is it possible for something to be drafted and provided to the council to show what the difference may be if we go with the Board of Appeals, if we don't go with the Board of Appeals? I know that you're mentioning additional paperwork, but there sounds like there's some ifs there, and we're not sure, and I just don't want
I had to cut you off, Madam President. You guys make that final decision. If you guys want to go to the Board of Appeals, I don't have a problem with that. It'll go to the Board of Appeals. I'm quite sure the Board of Appeals, I know I'm thinking they'll be favorable in this process, knowing what happened. It was an error, so, but I was just, once again, just making recommendations. So we don't need to draft anything up. You guys can make that decision. You want to go to the Board of Appeals, we go through the process.
And President Clark, if I may,
Yes,
just to
absolutely.
clarify, I don't believe there's going to be any difference in terms of the amount of process or paperwork involved, whether this goes to the Board of Appeals or the City Council. Once it goes through the Planning Commission, it will then be scheduled for a hearing with the Planning Commission's recommendation to whichever body you wish it to go to, be it the Board of Appeals or the City Council. But I don't think there's going to be any difference in terms of the amount of paperwork or the amount of process. It's simply one more hearing. The only issue is, where do you want that hearing to be?
Thank you, Mr. Taub. So it sounds like from the recommendation and thank you, Mayor Sidnor, for that additional information. It sounds like from what Mr. Taub is sharing, I heard from Councilmember Cole as well as Councilmember Simmons. It seems to be on the same page as well. Councilmember Mills sounded like he didn't have an issue with that either. So with those three at minimum, it looks like the option of adjusting and re-amending ordinance number 2044 to include that we will be sending to the Board of Appeals and making that change and amendment for us to then discuss that, or either with possible first public hearing for our next meeting for September 8th. We've had so many back and forth discussions. I'm trying to get it straight in my head. It looks like everyone may be on the same page with that, and that may be the best way to proceed. So if we can do that amendment, thank you, Councilmember Cole, for making that recommendation. And I see that Councilmember Simmons, do you have an additional comment as well?
Yes, on a separate topic, which is, on the recommendation to have a simple sort of explicit reference to a simplified process that can be easily done. I know in the practice of law, leaving too much to implication just leads to confusion. So I think if we're going to establish a policy to help somebody validate a permit, I think it should include the simplified version when it's not a major issue, and then include the more comprehensive hearing process like this is for the more detailed or more substantial issue. So I think I would recommend that also be included.
Thank you for that recommendation. I think so what we can do is include the amendment. I think you did mention that previously to Mr. Taub. I think Mr. Taub said that he didn't feel that that may be necessary. However, I hear you recommending it again. So we have the two recommendations, and then we can have, if you have further questions or you want to discuss it further, you can also submit those questions to Deputy Director Burrow and or Mr. Tubb for those. But it doesn't sound like anyone has any objections on moving it to the September 8th meeting. You just have two recommendations for amendments to this, correct? I'm going to say yes. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Taub, for that, answering all of those questions, and Deputy Director Burrow. Thank you, Mayor Sidner, for your input. Hearing no additional questions, comments, or objections from the council, ordinance number 2044 will be placed on the September 8th virtual regular mayor and city council meeting for a first public hearing with the two recommendations included. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving to agenda item number 8. We have resolution number 8-2025, a resolution of the mayor and city council of Laurel, Maryland, sponsored by the president at the request of the administration for the purpose of approving procedures on social media use for the Laurel City Council. This procedure is designed to support council members in navigating compliance with the First Amendment, Maryland Public Information Act, Open Meetings Act, City Election Code, and other statutory requirements. To provide us with additional context and details, we have Director James Cornwell Shield from our Information and Technology Department. Director Cornwell Shield, you now have the floor.
Thank you, and good evening, Council President Clark, council members, and Mayor Sidnor. Today, I'm pleased to present a resolution to adopt City Council procedures on social media, a document designed to support you, the council, in utilizing digital communications while upholding the many legal and ethical responsibilities we have as public officials. This document provides key guidance on the use of official and personal social media accounts, ensuring compliance with all of the legal needs that that you mentioned just a moment ago, as well as city election code and general best practices. It emphasizes transparency, accountability, and the protection of both the public trust and individual council members' rights. Key elements of this document include drawing clear lines between official, personal, and campaign accounts, adhering to legal obligations regarding record retention, content moderation, and nonpartisan communication, basic content guidelines and how and when to use city branding, and support resources that are available through the city. Our hope is that these procedures will help to empower you and future council members to engage effectively and lawfully with the public online. Thank you, and I welcome any questions or feedback you may have.
Thank you, Director Cornwell Shield. Are there any questions or comments from the council in regards to this resolution regarding social media use for the Laurel City Council? I see your hand up. Councilmember Adrian Simmons, please feel free to proceed.
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, I did want to express appreciation to Director Cornwell Shield and for those who also have worked on this project. I know it's been something that's been ongoing and a lot of hard work going into this. So thank you so much. As you mentioned, it's sort of in some ways pulling together existing resources, the Maryland Public Information Act, the Open Meetings Act, our ethics laws, our campaign finance laws, and sort of synthesizing them into one place for ease of reference for council, which I think is a huge help, as well as providing, very useful guidance and suggestions and recommendations and best practices. So, and it's also very timely since we're in an election cycle currently to be a good reminder for all of us on council that it's very important as members of council when we're sitting in that role that we never use that as a dais, as a sort of a platform to promote our own campaigns, because that would constitute an ethics commission violation and sort of be reportable to the ethics commission. So I appreciate you doing that. And again, it's a very timely to sort of have this come out. One thing I did want to make sure residents were aware as well that this is sort of a council adopting this policy for themselves, but to also be assured that this policy is also or something similar is being adopted on the inside for sort of the mayoral office as well, which is sort of so we're all upholding these standards for the best of the city, and that should over time, because technology and social media and all that continuously evolves, if we see opportunity to enhance and to improve, we can come back and amend this through the normal resolution process as we are through the adoption process as well. So one thing I think it's important to sort of point out is there's within the document, there are a little bit gradations between things we're required to do by statute, like you must do this. There's some things that are, okay, this is a really good idea. You do this to do best practices. And then there's things that are considerations for sort of saying, okay, hey, take this into account. Whereas there may not be a specific law. This is a really good way to do it so that you're really living out the spirit of adhering to good ethics standards and things like that. So anyways, just wanted to highlight a couple sort of underlying principles for folks. Thank you again so much for putting this together. I appreciate it. And that's all. I conclude my comments. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilmember Simmons. Do we have any additional comments or questions from the council? In addition, just wanted to mention that the council, we will have a training led by Director James Cornwell Shield and Director Natalie Williams on September 12th in regards to this resolution so that the council can ask additional questions. They can make comments, or if they want to understand more how to properly abide by the suggested tips or recommendations that are located in this resolution, because we can't assume that everyone knows. So it's best for us to have that training to ask those questions so that we can do it and handle our social media accounts privately and also with the city more effectively. I don't see any additional questions or comments. Are there any hesitations or concerns for adding this to our September 8th virtual regular meeting? I don't see any. All right. So hearing no additional comments, questions, or objections from the council regarding resolution number 8-2025, this item will be placed on the September 8th virtual regular mayor and city council meeting for a first public hearing. Thank you, Director Cornwell Shield. We appreciate your work on this. So thank you, everyone. We had a busy agenda coming back from our August recess, but that's what we're here for. So thank you to the staff, our consultants, the mayor, and council for your time today. Our next virtual meeting will be on September 8th at 6 p.m., which you can view on our City of Laurel website or Laurel TV on our YouTube channel. With no further business to come before the mayor and city council, this meeting is now adjourned at 7:04 p.m. Have a great night, everyone.